Women Who Own It podcast spotlights women business owners who are pioneers in their field, setting trends, blazing trails, and creating game-changing innovations. Brought to you by WeBank, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the U.S. and a leading advocate for women business owners and entrepreneurs. And me, Allison Maslin. I've been a business owner for the last 35 years. I'm the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the book Scale or Fail. So join our bold community of women who built it, grew it, and own it. I'll see you on the show. Welcome to Women Who Own It podcast, brought to you by WeBank, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses. The Women Who Own It podcast is supported by Target, and the show is for women business leaders, by women business leaders. And I'm your host, Allison Maslin, founder of Pinnacle Global Network, where we mentor business owners around the world to scale their businesses. And I am super excited today because we have an amazing guest. Her name is Ari Krzyzek, and she is the co-founder and chief creative officer of C Calafia, and she helps femtech DTC and women-led companies craft a brand that delights their customers beyond a pretty design. She delivers a no-brainer user experience and gets them the clarity they need for their businesses to thrive online, which is so important these days. She has over 10 years of branding and design experience. She's a certified brand strategist and a UX expert. She has transformed businesses' visions into a tangible form that helps set their businesses apart from their competitors. And as her diverse client roster attests, the one constant in her work is spot-on design for major impact every single time. She's also the co-host of Hello Femtech podcast, a podcast that honors disruptive innovators and changemakers advancing women's health. So Ari, welcome to the Women Who Own It podcast.
Thank you for having me here today, Allison. I'm actually really excited.
Yeah, I'm so excited to dive into the work that you're doing. And like we were talking about earlier, I've been through all your website and all that you're doing. You have a lot going on, and you got your hands in a lot of different areas with helping women-led brands transform their websites. Of course, your podcast in the health space, an author of a new book, branding, on and on and on. Can you share with us a little bit about how, what you're doing with your business now? How did that evolve?
Yes. It has evolved so much, taking me back into maybe about 13 years now. I started my career as a graphic designer, right? And this is me when I was still living in Bali, Indonesia. I was born and raised there. So to me, being in this place right now where I'm leading the company as a CEO and head of strategy is quite interesting. I'm just going to put it that way, because I didn't imagine it to be this way, right? In terms of like building a career in design, but things has evolved simply because in Bali, when I started my career, I didn't know that there's this amazing role of freelancing, that you could get work online, right? So took me a while to understand that, hey, I could work remotely, right? I could really, build up my career based on the type of business I want to work with, the type of work I truly want, and truly enjoy doing. So my husband, actually, back then, he was my fiance. He asked me, hey, how much do you actually get paid, Ari? I'm just curious. Obviously, that was kind of like an interesting conversation to have. But because he asked me that question, it makes me think, like, do I really get enough? Am I really worth it for the company, right? Is this really my worth? So I explored the digital world, freelancing, and then eventually realized I did not have the resources and support that I needed in Bali. So my husband, because he is an American, he told me, well, you have a choice. You can live in the Chicago area with me, and then we can build, ourselves, our career together here before we move back to Bali. And I thought, okay, let's do that. So I left my home island with the blessing of my parents, obviously, leaving that comfort behind, and then venture into Chicagoland area in 2011. And
Big,
I
big
was
change, right?
it was a big change, definitely a big change. So that was the start. But I'm going to tell you this because it's interesting, because my company also started off because my husband asked me to be his business partner in 2011. We were both freelancers. He's doing his nerdy things, doing on the web. I was doing my design creative thing on the web. We merged our, you know, skill set together, but now it has evolved so much. So yeah, there's a lot more
And
things
so
to
are
it.
you still business partners today?
Yes, for the better or for worse, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. My husband and I are partners as well. And I love working with him in the business. You know, I'm still the CEO, but, you know, he brings a lot to the table. And it's nice because you actually get to see each other.
Yes and no for me, to be honest. I
I
think
guess
there's
it's
this
how you look at it,
dynamic.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Well, he had his own business for about 30 years. And so when we started, you know, we kind of brought our forces together about 4 years ago. It was really nice because we
Yeah.
used to be just two ships passing in the night.
Mm,
But it's nice when you're both on the same page. I think it definitely helps
I
in
agree.
business, whether it's your spouse or, you know, a business partner, of course.
I completely
So, wow, well, that's a big transformation. And so, branding, so that it sounds like you kind of found your niche is really, you know, branding and helping your customers stand apart. I feel like, Ari, that branding is still a bit confusing to a lot
mm,
of business owners. What do you think is the most important thing for business owners to focus on when it comes to their branding? I mean, they've got their website, their logo, their collateral, all the above.
yeah. I like that you asked me that question simply because a lot of people have misunderstand what branding really is. Some people would say, "Hey Ari, here's my logo and here's my brand." No, your logo is not your brand, nor is your website or any collateral that you have, right? So what exactly is a brand? I think a brand, if you really take a look at it, it's that gut feeling you have for a certain entity, whether it's a, big corporation, a nonprofit, or even a person. You have this alignment between what they're trying to say to the world and how you feel attracted and, connected to them.
Hmm.
And that really is what a brand is. So think of it this way. You know how you would go to different places or be loyal to specific brand because you feel that they know you so well,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's the brand loyalty that you start building with them. You're
Mm.
interested from them because they convey this specific message. They have this specific purpose that align to what you want to see in the world. You want to be, contribute to making that impact together with that organization. And that's what they did very well, especially for big companies like, let's say, Target or Apple or any other big corporation. They fine tune their messaging so that they can reach you
Mhm.
exactly where you feel that, yes, that is me. I contribute to that. This is my identity and this is my brand. So for
Yeah,
me,
love that.
if I can recap that for you, brand really is, if you look at your own business, right? What is your brand all about? And for most of us, we have these hard challenges around, how do I communicate my brand? Think of your purpose. What do you stand for? And what are you against? Start from there, right? And then really think about, who are your right target audience? Do they have that connection with you as well? And that would be the foundation of your brand.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I have not heard it described that way, Ari. That really is, it makes so much sense. It's almost like you're saying it's the energy of something, right?
Yes.
Or the feeling that you get. I remember when Target years ago, I don't know if you remember this, where they changed their brand. They were definitely losing um, you know, that visibility, and they did a brand refresh. I don't know, this is many many years ago, and it's just really changed everything. It makes it sound like a fun place to shop, and you know, definitely a little bit higher level. And so I do think that, do you feel like that businesses can shift their brand and shift the way people feel connected to it?
I believe so. We hear it all the time, right? Companies, organization would do rebrand, right? But what really prompted that rebrand? Some of us might think, oh, I just need something new, fresh, and shiny. No, that's not how you do a rebrand, right? You do rebrand when you feel that something big is shifting in your
Mm,
company. Maybe
mm,
it's, a whole new approach that you actually want to deliver to your target audience, or there's this big mission that you want to carry, right? For example, I know recently I get connected with a couple of people from BP, and I heard that they are actually wanting to move away from, being the oil company into energy sustainable company. It's like that's a big mission. And
yes.
supposedly you need that rebrand so that you can carry on this bigger mission forward. So think about, like, what do you want to do with the brand? Like, where do you want to go? What do you want to impact in the world for your target
Mhm,
audience and also people around them? Is there a big mission here that you are carrying? Of course, we're not
mhm.
going to change the world, in a matter of a year, but 2 years or whatnot. But if you were to do that together with a collective of other people who aligns with your mission, imagine the impact that can be carried through your brand.
Wow, that's powerful. I bet you have some great stories of companies when you did, uh, help them to nail down their brand, and so that their ideal target audience was really finally seeing them and getting them. I bet you've seen some big growth in their businesses.
I have seen those, yes. And the biggest thing that I notice when companies don't have the foundation they need for their brand is that there's this lack of clarity, right? When you're not entirely sure who are you really targeting. You'll be spending way too much money and investment trying to go to so many different directions, trying to be
Mhm.
everywhere, trying to reach everybody. And that's exhausting,
Yeah,
right? I'm sure a lot of people have probably experienced that at some point, but when you really laser focus in what makes you the great brand doing X in your industry, or maybe, have a specific technology to support with it. Imagine if you can laser focus on that and then focusing on the people who really needed it the most.
yeah,
That's where you create the biggest impact.
that's great advice. Great advice. In Pinnacle Global Network, we work with so many different business owners, and when you're talking to a business owner and say, "Well, uh, who is the most ideal customer for you? Who's the perfect fit?" And they say, "Well, anybody that wants to feel better in their health," right? And so I think there's sometimes a fear of really narrowing down and speaking to that specific audience, that they'll miss out on the rest of the world, as potential customers. But
Yeah.
what I find is that then these people that you are speaking to, then they really do hear you, right? So you actually get
Yeah.
more customers, because then you can go deeper and then wider with that particular audience.
I love that you mentioned how, the connection that you will create with this right audience is so deep, right? Because that is the goal. The goal of, building a business is to create customers, right? When we don't have that deep relationship with the customers, it's hard for the business to grow, and even more so to expand our reach. When you have these people who really truly believe in your mission, they tell everybody they know about you, right? And
Yeah.
you even don't have to pay them, simply because they genuinely believe in your mission. They genuinely want to see you grow alongside with them.
Yeah. It is a beautiful thing when that happens. And so, here you move to this country, you having your business online, right? And
Mhm.
this is a different world now that we live in, and right? You can live anywhere and run your business. In fact, today, my husband and I also own a home in Mexico,
Oh,
in
wow.
Zihuatanejo, Mexico, and we live there 3 to 4 months a year and operate our
Mhm.
business from there, which is really fun. What do you think? What are some of the things that businesses tend to overlook when they're trying to expand their businesses online?
Things that they typically tend to overlook, I would say, specifically online, right? The experiences that these people are gonna experience on their digital channels. We have so many different type of digital channels out there. Your social media, right? YouTube, Google, search, and everything, as well as your website. Sometimes it's not easy to control all of those, but when you can control something, especially thinking about digital, channels like your own social media as well as your website, creating the consistency is so important. I've seen businesses just like throwing things like quickly, putting it quickly together and forget about creating the consistency they need in order
Mm.
to really help the user understand like, okay, I'm experiencing this in your social media, but on your website, it's completely different. Which one should I choose, right? Or can I expect more consistency and then building trust from there? So, things that people tend to overlook is that building the consistency can really help improve building the connection for your target audience as well as building that trust. We all need the trust right away, right? Especially if you want to target specific people and then have them convert on your website. Without that, well, you'll be saying goodbye to them very quickly.
Yeah, and that's such a good point, is that consistency, Ari, because there's a saying, a confused mind says no. And
Yes.
so if they're seeing a different look on different channels, if they might be thinking, I don't really get what this person does, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I like that you mentioned, I don't get it. And speaking of I don't get it, sometimes it's hard for us to really convey what do we really do? Like, how can our product or services, better the customer's life? But if you look at one of the top channels that you have, maybe it is your website, right? Your web page could tell so much to your target audience. Thinking about, myself or even you, Allison, when you go to any website, maybe it's a brand new website you never even heard before. Don't we always ask, like, what is this website all about? Right? Tell me, what is it? So I can, pre-qualify myself to understand whether or not this is for me. And then you
Hmm.
can use this opportunity to really guide those, new users coming into your website, visiting your website, and really tell your story. Like, who are you? What is unique about you? Maybe you have a unique selling proposition. Share that on your website so that they know how to differentiate, or maybe when they start comparing you with other brands, they know exactly, what's your uniqueness, right? Where do you truly excel in that industry?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the more that you are authentic
Yeah.
and real, I think people are seeing through things these days, and they really want to connect on a deeper level. Um, let's talk a little bit about, so we're talking about websites, and you are a UX expert, user experience. First of all, can you explain what that means,
Yeah.
UX, and why does the user experience matter when it comes to website conversion and selling your
Mm.
products?
Yes. UX, user experience. Sometimes people still ask me, okay, what exactly is UX? It stands for user experience, right? But all of the things that we have, day to day that we have through the phone or even like interaction we have on the web, on our desktop or even laptop, we really overlook how UX carried, all the different touch points that we have, like guiding us through specific direction or even like guiding us towards specific action. And this is why I specifically say action, simply because we all want people to take action. We have call to action on our website, and that's what user experience actually do. So, or does, starting from the strategy, right? If you're thinking about I want to really guide my target audience from social media into, my websites. And then at the end of the day, having them to either book a session or maybe buy a product from my website, or maybe actually sending me a message, or maybe in actually just, subscribe to your newsletter. whatever that action might be. You have a specific goal that you want the target audience to do on your website.
Yes.
But if you don't have the right strategy and really think through of the user experience, you might just like put all of those information on a web page, and then people's gonna feel really overwhelmed because they're
Yeah.
looking at so many different pieces of information. And what do people who feel overwhelmed do? They close the tab, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. There's too much information. They don't feel guided. We
And
all
then
want to
you
feel
miss that
guided.
opportunity. Here they are on the website, right?
Yes.
You've got them there. And, I've seen that on many websites where you just, you don't know what the action is that you're supposed to take. You can't find things.
Yeah.
And, once they're gone, they're gone.
Unfortunately, that is so true. So what else can we do, right? Creating consistency is definitely one. We talked about that, understanding, your brand a little bit better. We also talked about that. And then when it comes to user experience, here are a few things that I really want everybody to look at when it comes to their website. See if your website can really answer the 5 questions. Number
Okay.
1, we already, had a little peek on this. What is the website all about? Share that. And then number 2, how is this relevant to your target audience? So really leverage your unique selling proposition, or maybe you have, a really quick tagline about what makes you unique. And then number 3, do you have social proof, right? I feel like we all have social proof, whether it's testimonials or even maybe certification or maybe press. We all have that. At a certain level, you can showcase those and building up the trust right away. And the other 2 items that I would say would be, tell people how it works. Yes, if you have a e-commerce website, people probably already know, I buy it and then I get it, right? But if you have some unique process, let them know that. Set expectation for them so that they understand, like, oh, okay, you guys really ship things super fast. Did not know that, right? So really share some of the process that you have. And then number 5, really guide them to tell, specific action. You want them to sign up, really guide them and say like, hey, time to sign up now. Sign up here, right? Or maybe it's actually booking, book now. Make it clear and well, try not to be too cute with, the call to action wording. Sometimes it can get very confusing for people. So be direct, right? You want them to book, book now. You want them to shop, shop now.
And not too many call to actions either, because then you're
Yes,
kind of competing with yourself in a sense.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah, that is such great advice. It really is. I also think sometimes if you look at a website, you have to scroll way down to find a button or anything.
Mm,
What do you think about having the call to action higher up, like in that good real estate?
yes, definitely. Think of it this way. There is one particular call to action you want them to do, right? And that should be repeated a few times throughout your
Okay.
website layout.
Okay.
So some of them might get to the very bottom and they will see it again. Some of them probably only want to see the top portion, like anything
Mhm.
above the fold. So you will have it in there. But somewhere in the middle of your content or your layout, you should also still have that call to action. Now, we don't want to create call to action in every single part of your web
Right.
page, right? But wherever you see there's this opportunity to remind them what is that call to action, you should definitely, put it in there.
Great. Great. Such good advice. So we're getting towards the holiday season. And this is obviously a great time for business owners to ramp up their sales. Whether it's products, gift ideas, and even services, even if you have a staffing company or an engineering company, maybe there's some sort of special that people can do
Yeah.
or take action on in the new year. What tips do you have for business owners to help increase their website conversion, during during a time like this?
Good question. I think that depends. And I know a lot of people will hate that answer, right? It depends. But it really is though. If you, let's say, have service business, or you have product business, right? Those two different companies have slightly different approach. So let's talk one at a time. For service business, what you might be able to do is to really gear everybody who might be able to use your services for the next year, right? So maybe thinking about, hey, pre-planning for 2023, book us today. So you have these different approach towards like getting more pipeline before 2023, and really utilizing that option to invite people before the holiday. Like, let's start planning so that we have some strategy to place for the 2023 or the new year. Now, for, let's say, product businesses, I think it's so overlooked sometimes when we talk about the holiday season, right? Because you can do so much with product. And especially when it comes to gifting season, you could do collection, you can do giveaway, you can also do, special gifting series. There's just so much more opportunities in the product space compared to the service space. And what I would also encourage is that, bring some of the play around like gifting for friends, right? Maybe you collect like some sort of like campaign around, tag your friend to shop or things like that. There's so many different options to do it. However, what I would also say the main strategy to really look at would be, how can you really see your own target customers, knowing them so well? What would be interesting for them to see on your shop? Perhaps you have done, let's just say, gift collection in the future, right? Maybe doing some mix and match type of gift could be interesting, rather than having gift for women or gift for men's. Maybe it is actually gift for spouses, or maybe it could be for specific, life stages instead. So that could work. I would definitely say those two can be slightly different, but they are definitely approachable.
Yeah, I love that. Well, you definitely can get creative for sure this time of year to, help you clean out some inventory or, like you said, helping people prepare for the new year. If they invest in some things now, maybe they can have a special price before the new year. But definitely taking advantage of that this time is important. Any other tools or strategies or resources that they can use to help them to maintain their website or to optimize it?
Yeah. I would highly recommend checking out a platform called FlowMap. So it's FLOWMAPP. We use FlowMap a lot for a lot of the different clients that we have managing their content on the website, really looking at the user flow in terms of like, changes in specific, campaign. You could definitely leverage the same tool. It is so accessible, and you'll be able to really see how each of your web pages correspond to specific call to action, right? So you'll be able to plan your campaign better in the future, and also having the right access to see, if one thing change, how can you move some of the things away on your user flow to make sure that you really hit that target for your campaign.
Oh, that is great advice. I'm definitely going to check that out for sure on our site. So thank you for that tip. Now, we are here because of WeBank. And just curious, how has WeBank been a support to your business growth, the WeBank certification? Can you share a little bit about that experience for you?
Yes, I'm newly certified, right? Got certified this year, but I'm already seeing a lot of the resources and support from my business, specifically around understanding how can I really leverage my certification. I was recently in a program called Top Shelf for Service Business. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that program, Allison, but essentially they really prep me to, you know, understand how to pitch to larger corporation, right? Pitching to larger corporation versus pitching to entrepreneurs and other founders is completely different. And I
Yes.
didn't understand that landscape at all, but I'm so lucky to be able to get into the program and, went through it. And then now I have more homework, but it's all good, right? Because now I have a clear idea in terms of like, how do I approach, diversity supplier, or what else can I do with my certification, down the line? Because I think it truly opened up a lot more opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, all of that. There's so many incredible resources through WeBank, and the relationships that people make. Me being able to meet you today, that's awesome. And learning about all the incredible things that you're doing in the branding and marketing world. And you recently co-wrote a book called Made to Sell: Creating Websites That Convert.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome that you wrote a book, and I think a lot of people would love to do that for their own business. What was your experience with writing the book? Any advice that you would give to the other women business leaders listening who also want to write a book?
It was a big undertaking. I'm going to have to say that, simply because probably I went in without really understanding the full scope of what it means to be an author, right? A fellow author recently, told me, do you know that writing the book is only 20% of the whole journey? And I was sitting there and thinking, you are right. I did not realize what I've gotten myself into, but I think the journey in itself worth it, simply because you're writing a book because you want to share your knowledge, right? We really do also want to, give people access to the knowledge that we have, because not everybody can work with us, unfortunately. But this book can really give them all the insights that we have, all the knowledge that we have around creating website that convert. So that on its own really makes me feel fulfilled. But I would also suggest everybody who is currently in this process, or planning to write a book, definitely hire a book editor, because I don't
Yes.
think without the book editor, I'll be here finishing up with the book and also publishing the book, because I think that accountability that you got from your book editor is huge, and it's so, so helpful.
You know what? That is so, so true. I've written 2 books and I'm working on my third. And thank goodness for my editor, because they're like, okay, where's that next chapter?
Yes,
You
exactly
know,
that.
because it's so easy to, to get off track. But also, I think it's helpful just with structure.
Mhm.
I know my editor helped a lot in saying, you really need another paragraph here, or I'm not really understanding what you're saying here. So it's nice to have that voice. So anyone listening, get the book, Ari's book, Made to Sell: Creating Websites That Convert. She has dropped a lot of wisdom bombs in there. And as we start to wrap up in this interview, and you've shared so much, how do you maintain a balance with all the different initiatives you have going on, your business and your life? And I ask that because,
Yeah.
as women, right, we're going in a lot of different directions. And I think we can always utilize some great advice on
Yeah.
helping to find that balance.
Oh, that's tough, Allison, because I always try to be able to do it all, right? And I think, ever since pandemic, I start rethinking about, what does doing it all mean even,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think now I'm at a place where I feel like, I have my specific goals. I'm going to do my best to try to get, to those goals, and feel like I'm accomplishing some of those goals, but I'm not going to force myself anymore to do it all, because like you said, we have family, right? We want to also, have some time for ourselves, self-care and everything. But also we're running this business. We're managing people and projects and, clients and everything. That's a lot to do, and it can absorb so much of our energy. So in terms of like managing, I'm trying my best. I have my own CEO dashboard where I can see a lot of the pieces that currently moving, things that maybe my team are needing from me. But I also feel like I have boundaries that help me
Mm.
focus, and also help me, remind me that, hey, it's time to just like spend time with family. So
Yeah.
I think Don't
a
force
great,
yourself to do it all. I think there's got to be a healthy balance, but I know not all of us agree balance exists. We're trying our best. We are all trying our best. So
yeah.
keep it up.
I think that's such great advice. It really is. I think that especially, well, I know men are too. So, but women can be very driven, especially
Yeah.
women CEOs, and they can push themselves and to burnout, right? And
Hmm.
so it really is important to stop and breathe and set boundaries, like you said. And it's interesting, you almost end up getting more done because you're coming from a calmer place rather than a place of frenzy,
Oh, yes.
And so, yeah, I know I learned the hard way. So, anyway, well, as we wrap up today, Ari, how can people reach you if they want to learn more about you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, so you can find me Ari Krzyzek, or I'm pretty sure Alison will have the link in the show note. But other than that, you can also go to my website, cklph.com.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I learned a lot. I'm going to go back to my website and see what I'm missing there. I have a feeling I might be having a few different user experiences going on. So I want to clean that up myself. So,
Amazing.
so thank you, Ari.
Thank
And
you, Alison.
you're welcome. And for those of you that are listening, if you enjoyed the show, please share this podcast with other women business leaders, and so that they can learn how to grow and scale their business, and they can learn more about WeBank and what WeBank has to offer them and their business. And I also want to share with you a gift for free. We actually are going to ship you my Wall Street Journal best-selling book that's endorsed by Barbara Corcoran and Damon John from Shark Tank. All you need to do is go to scaleorfail.com/WeBank, WBENC, and we'll send it to you as our gift. All right. And until next time, right, get out there and support other women business leaders. We are definitely stronger together. Bye, everybody.